talking about Kaz now. So I don't see why everybody is simping over this little man who I see as just completely mediocre. I think I have nothing to really say about him. He's a bit boring for me. I'm sorry if it's a shock. I just think he's such a conventional, leader of a gang. He's dark, he's mysterious, he has a dark backstory. He's just like Tommy Shelby, but without all of like the depth. Hello, and so today I am going to be, filming a video about 6 of Crows. So let me preface my review by saying that I don't hate 6 of Crows. By any means, I don't hate it. I don't think it's terrible. I just found it mediocre despite of all the praise that it got. I thought it was extremely mediocre, and I thought this does not deserve the hype. I do not see the hype, and I do not see why it's such a high rating on Goodreads. It has some unfathomable, some fucking ridiculous score of 4.6 or something like that. And I'm like, why? It's perfectly fine. I'm not saying it's bad. There's parts of it that I would criticize, but it's not by any means a perfect book, which a lot of people are describing it as. So I'll just start with some general critiques. Somebody's dog is barking. I live across my house. There's 2 houses across from me, and then one of them has a little black dog, and the other one has a little white dog. I didn't like the third person. I'm usually fine with third person in books where there's different characters, where there's a bunch of different perspectives. I was fine with it in the Percy Jackson series and the series that came after that, which was, I think, Heroes of Olympus. I read those when I was really little, to be fair, but I thought those were fine in that book. But for some reason, in 6 of Crows, maybe if I go back and read it, I wouldn't like it, but in 6 of Crows, because it is third person, it feels very impersonal when we read about the characters. And also because it's third person, it's very hard to distinguish the who's talking and whose perspective it is from just by the writing. I think it's quite difficult to do that. Okay, so I'm going to spare you guys the terrible audio that this clip has of me just kind of talking about why I don't like the third person, because the dogs are barking throughout this entire part and I just cannot have that. And okay, so basically I will just reiterate what I was talking about in the actual video, and you guys get to look at this cute little cow. So I thought first person would have worked a lot better in this instance, because all these characters, they're not in different places throughout the story. They're not experiencing different things. They are pretty much together the entire time, which is what makes me think that the third person was very kind of useless, and the multiple perspectives was a little bit useless. I guess it gave us insight into different characters, but you could have done that with first person and it would have come across a lot better. You could have had a lot more character with first person, because all these characters are so different. Fundamentally, there are such different characters. They're very flavorful. I don't know any other word to describe it. They're just flavorful. They're very different. So first person would have worked a lot better than third person, I think, because it gives it that character, if that's what the author wanted, by using multiple perspectives. I just think that's one part where 6 of Crows fails, where for example Percy Jackson, the Heroes of Olympus did better at, because they had multiple perspectives too, right? But it was more needed, because the characters were basically split up for almost half of the series, I think. But throughout the majority of the book, they're separated, which is why the multiple perspective comes in together, and then at the end, all the different stories are back together in one big arc, sort of, which I think is a lot better than 6 of Crows, where all the characters are together from the beginning and they're still together at the end, and they don't really see anything different from each other. They have the same experience essentially, but we're experiencing it from 6 different points of views that don't really need to be all explained. Dog is just not shutting up. It would have been very great for it to have different narration styles, because that would have added a lot more character to the book, I think. Yeah, so I'm pretty much done with the general reviews, and I'm going to start off with talking about Kaz now. So I don't see why everybody is simping over this little man who I see as just completely mediocre. I think he's just, I have nothing to really say about it. Yes, so the audio for this part is atrocious again because of the dogs. I apologize, so now I'm gonna do a voiceover variation of what I said there. Yeah, so I did not like Kaz. He was very boring to me. He didn't really bring any spice to character. Like, he was the most cliche character out of all of them, I think. It was just, like, I feel like everything, he was just so predictable. Like, he should have been way more interesting, way more just, I guess colorful is the wrong word to use, but I wish he was developed with a different character, like a different personality, because his personality just seems very derived of like a lot of other fictional characters and all like other like fictional gang leaders and stuff, like the heartless bad guy, but you know, he loves his like teammates and his girl or whatever. It's, you know, it just feels very like Tommy Shelby-esque, and that's just something I didn't really like, because I felt like, oh, I've seen this a bunch of other times done way better, and I did not find Kaz intimidating. In fact, like most times he just felt like a 17-year-old. He felt like he was trying to pretend to be someone menacing when that wasn't really the point of his character. I guess like some parts he's pretending to be menacing, but it's not a big enough like part of the story for it to actually fit into like his character of like he's pretending, because most parts were led to believe that he's not pretending, he's just that ruthless, you know. So I just thought he was like genuinely like poor written characters. I didn't like him that much. It was quite boring to me. Like, he's trying to imitate Tommy Shelby. Like, in my head, that's what it feels like. And I guess that's part of it, where he builds like a myth around himself. But it's like, it's not like utilized, that myth part is not utilized enough to make him seem like he's like that dog. Okay, so it, like, the myth part of it doesn't make it seem, it's just not as integral as a part to the story that it makes it justifiable that he seems kind of like a knockoff of Tommy Shelby. Like, if that was like his character arc, oh, he's imitating someone from the beginning, then he learns to not imitate someone, and then that changed his character, then that would have been great. But that wasn't really his character arc. His character arc was more like learning how to feel, like learning how to express his feelings toward other people, mainly Ine. I did like the backstory, even though I said he doesn't really have that much depth, but I did like the backstory of why he wears gloves. I think it's pretty cool. It's a very like interesting backstory for sure. I liked his relationship with Ine, so it's not all bad. It's very like, you know, nuanced, I think, surprisingly, for like a YA. I think it's like very like nice. It's very intimate. I like it. I also don't like, however, how all the plans are not exposited from Kaz's perspective. So then when the plans go wrong or something happens, and then we just have Kaz be like, oh, I planned for this all along, from some other character's perspective, which makes Kaz seem like a deus ex machina. Like, basically, like anything that goes wrong, Kaz would be like, oh, I've planned for this, this is what we're gonna do now. It just feels really cheap, and it would have been, I feel like it would have been a lot better if we just learned about the plans from Kaz's perspective, and maybe we could have gone through the plans, like actually going through them with a different character, and then be like a certain level of dramatic irony. Like, I feel like that would have been so much better than having Kaz seem like some like all-knowing, omniscient god who just pulls shit out of his ass whenever the story needs him to. And another problem I had with him is that he's supposed to be very dark, very mature, right? But he has like the same sense of humor as all the other characters. This is just like a general critique, I guess. All the characters have like the same sense of humor, which kind of irritates me. They quip like this is a problem with Marvel as well. Like, when all the characters joke, they all joke about like pretty much the same thing, which is just annoying since they have such different like personalities. They should have different humor, especially like for Kaz and Ine. It's just very evident that once they start like quipping and joking and stuff, they all have the same type of humor, except for like maybe Matthias is a bit different and Wyland, but otherwise they're all pretty similar, except for Ine. Maybe she's a bit less vulgar, but like Nina, Jasper, and Kaz, they're like pretty much indistinguishable. But I wish that you know, for example, Matthias learned his courage in a prison. Maybe it would have been maybe it would have been realistic for him to have not that great vocabulary. Like, the fact that he learned his courage in prison and only brought up once, and it's like, oh, I don't know the words for snow goggles because that was never brought up in prison, but like, there should be a lot more words that he didn't learn from prison, I feel like. And like Wylan, he's very educated compared to the other characters. So what if he spoke a bit more pretentiously? So that could be a possible character thing. Interesting character trait. I don't know. I just wish it was just more evident that when the character spoke, it was a different character from the other characters. Like, do you get it? What I mean? Like, I want the dialogue to have character. I want the dialogue to reflect their personalities. Anyways, I didn't have much to say about Kaz, but yeah, he's just a little bit boring for my taste. Oh yeah, I got a blender. Are you impressed by me? Okay, next up is Ine. So I actually think she's decent, even though I think she's underwritten a little bit. I just think the writer was bored of her, to be fair, because her chapters are always the ones that kind of just aren't that interesting, to be honest. Like, there's this one really interesting scene with her and when she was climbing the incinerator shaft, but like that was about it. I think she's underwritten, like, in point where she just like, her character traits aren't as well defined as the other characters. Like, Jasper is like the cocky one who has a little bit of gambling addiction. Nina is the flirtatious one who has questionable morals. I don't know. Matthias is the very honest, big, burly guy, and then Kaz is deceitful, and Wylan is like innocent. But like, Ine doesn't have a well-defined set of traits. Like, I think she's supposed to be like more merciful, but she kills people. So I wish they did something like her, like with Batman or something, where she is like, she refuses to kill people. That would have been very interesting because obviously she's part of a gang. So that would have been very interesting if they made that part of her character, that she would refuse to kill people, and maybe that could be like a possible character development or something. I don't know, it would have made her stand out more from the cast, and I think she just needed to be written more clearly. And yeah, that was just kind of annoying. I do think, oh, side note, I like the opening scene. Like the opening scene with the black tips and how Kaz exposes like this traitor, and that was really cool. I think it was very efficient and accomplished a lot of things, and like it's pretty good. I think that scene was good. It like very clearly showcases stuff. Another thing I don't like is that how a lot of the people from who are on the team are already in the dregs. Like, I thought Kaz said that he would need skills from outside of the dregs, but then literally half of his team is made up of people from his gang. Like, I don't know. I liked, back to Ine, I liked her backstory. It was interesting how she learned tightrope and stuff. I think, like, oh yeah, back to like the thing where she doesn't have to kill people, like because she's called the Wraith, right? We could go back to that theme of like these people having like a fake story, this myth built around them, like Kaz does, and that would really serve that, like that, you know, whole theme of like, oh, people can have a myth built around them that's not really them or whatever. I think that would be interesting. And her arc was a bit boring. It was mostly just about her finding her direction in life, and like the part where she spent her like her 2 years in like a brothel didn't really play into her arc, which was a little bit disappointing. So I don't know, like, I mean, it did a little bit since she's trying to stop slavers, but she could have just been a good-hearted person trying to stop doing that, to be honest. I wish there was some more of a reckoning with her and her past at the brothel or something like that, but they mostly slide over that, I think, so that was a bit disappointing. Yeah, that's my hot take on Ine. I didn't like her that much. I know my friend, she really liked her. I just didn't, so sorry. Next, Wyland. I don't have anything to say about Wyland. He was barely in the story. I'm sorry, he was so fucking useless. Like, he was one of the most useless characters in the book, I think. Yeah, pretty much. I didn't like him. He was okay. The queer baiting between him and Jasper was a little bit obnoxious. I wish that they didn't do that. The part where we find out that he was kicked out of his house because his dad didn't like that he didn't know how to read. a little bit stupid. I'm not going to lie. I found that really hilarious, and I was like, really? That's the reason we're going with? Because I genuinely thought that there was going to be something like, oh, his dad caught him making out with a boy or something, and then like Rylan himself decided to leave home because of he was in love with a boy, and then his dad's begging him to come back and be like, oh, you can choose not to love people, and then it would be like a whole like, you know, LGBTQ story or whatever. And I thought that was where they were going, because they had made like insinuations with like love and stuff when it comes to Wyman's past, but apparently not. He just doesn't know how to read. It would have been so cool if it was like his dad's like homophobic or something, and it would have made his like relationship with Jasper have a lot more depth. Like it would have, I just thought it would have made it really clear that Wylan was like, you know, gay or bi or whatever, and it would have not been as queerbaity as it was. Next, I'm going to talk about Nina, my favorite character. Oh my god, I love Nina. Best character ever. Okay, so what is she? I don't know. I just really like her. I don't have any critiques for her. I love the description that when she's first introduced is that, oh, she flirts with everything and everyone. I'm like, oh, that's so hot. Like, I just like that description. It was a really cool description, and the writing's actually pretty decent in this book. Like the descriptions and stuff, it has like a certain amount of like wit and like kind of like playfulness to it, which I like. I really like how she uses her sexuality to her advantage, and that's never like shown as like a bad thing, like, oh, she's whoring herself out or anything like that. Like, I thought it was really nice. I love it when female characters use their sexuality to their advantages. I think it's really cool. I loved her backstory with Matthias. Every time they flash back to when they were like on that ship or like, you know, wandering around, I was like, yes, this is the book I signed up for. I seriously just, I love her relationship and backstory with Matthias so much. It's like honestly the best thing about this book. It's just her like enemies to lovers is just my shit. Okay, I'm sorry, but I love it. Like that, like I wasn't even that into the main plot of them like breaking the ice core. I was just down for the backstory, like the flashbacks. I was like, yes, this is what I was here for. And oh my god, I just love her interactions with Matthias. It's just so cute, and I may be a bit biased because she's just my favorite character and I genuinely don't have anything bad to say about her. But yeah, I love her interactions with Matthias. I think it's adorable, and it really has like a lot of like tension and stuff. Oh, I loved it. I guess I wish that was different, that she was, you know, more utilized in fight scenes, because she's really overpowered, and I think the writer realized that and then just made her a little bit not in the fight scenes. So I wish she was. That would have been interesting. Okay, moving on to Matthias. He is decent. He's not as good as Nina, but I will say he's maybe like my second favorite, and like tied with Ine, maybe my second favorite. Okay, so he's pretty cute when he interacts with Nina. That's no secret. He's adorable. Like, he's just like, oh, I like her. Oh, she's so hot, but like, my honors. I find that so cute. I really liked his internal conflict. That was something that I really liked from him. I was a little disappointed at the end how they wrote like this like switcheroo thing, like him meeting up with this old mentor and he like betrays him. That happened a bit too fast, and I wish it was set up a bit more. And if it was set up a bit more, it would have been perfect. It was a little bit cheesy, I will say that, but I mean, it's a YA, so I'll give it a pass. But yeah, I wish it was, you know, set up a bit more so that it didn't seem like, you know, Kaz just pulled another thing out of his ass and stuff. I liked it. It was, the encounter with his mentor was a little bit tropey, a little bit stupid, a little bit cringy, but it's YA, so I'll give it a pass. And I can see how a lot of my criticisms might be a little bit, you know, nitpicky for people who like read YA commonly. I really don't. If you look at my bookshelf, all of my YA books are from when I was like grade 6, grade 7 maybe. I've really stopped reading YA a while ago. I'm only now getting back into it. So my camera shut off. So I'm gonna be filming the rest of the video on my phone. And yeah, so where was I? I was talking about Matthias. Yeah, Matthias, pretty good. Solid character. Probably my second favorite behind Nina, and he's pretty decent. I think he's fine. And yeah, so moving on to Jasper, my least favorite character. He is so boring. Oh my god, he's the most boring person ever. Like, honestly, why did they even bring him on this trip? He has 0 skills. Like, he's a sharpshooter, not even like a sniper. Like, come on. Like, at least make him a little bit interesting, please. Like, for the love of God, he's the most boring character ever. Like, at the beginning, when Kaz was like, oh, I'm gonna need a crew, I'm like, okay, but please don't bring this boring piece of shit, Jasper. He has no character to him. He's just, like, he's the most underwritten one of all. I know I said Ina was a bit underwritten, but he is really underwritten, okay? Like, my God, this man gets nothing. Like, he's just a gambling addict. And that's his, like, entire character, and it doesn't really play into the story much, and just kind of like, you know, is just one of his character traits, and I hated it. I was like, oh wow, that's it. That's just so boring. Like, it's super boring how they handled Jasper. Like, he could have been very interesting with his, you know, relationship with Wyland, but they didn't take that anywhere. We could have written him to have like a crush on Kaz and have some conflict between him and Ine, but we couldn't do that. Oh yeah, that's one of the things I didn't like, how there was really no conflict between Kaz, Ine, and Jasper. 0. The only conflict between the members was with like Nina and Matthias. I wish there was more like conflict and like arguing over plans and shit. Like, that would have been a lot more interesting. I don't know. It just felt, I just hate how Jasper was wasted. Like, he is one of the main characters. He gets his own perspective, and yet he is so boring. He's even more boring than Wyland, because at least Wyland has this sense of mystery to him throughout like the entire book. Okay, however, I will give credit that Jasper does get interesting about 80% into the book, like near the last, I don't know, 100 pages, I think, or whatever. Whenever he is revealed to be a fabricator, he gets a little bit more interesting, and we learn a bit more about his like backstory and stuff. But other than that, he stays as a pretty uninteresting character throughout the entire book. And his relationship with Wyland is enough to carry it, because the author was too a pussy to develop it into an actual, you know, relationship like Matthias and Ines is, and like Ina and Kaz even, which I think is just cowardice on her part. So he just has the most boring backstory. He came to Ketterdam and basically became a gambling addict and then gambled all his money away. Like, wow, do you expect me to have sympathy for you? Like, oh my God. Okay, later on I will say that he has a little bit of interesting internal conflict of him wanting, like, not wondering if he should be a hero, like, oh, should I go back to Ravka and join the second army, you know, pursue my heritage or whatever, like, maybe or maybe not. Like, that part was a little bit interesting. I will say that I thought that was decent. My phone just fell from the little post flip going. Okay, so that part with him and like his like a little bit internal conflict between him seeing what Nina does is kind of interesting. I think it's the most interesting part of his character. Like, oh, he doesn't know what to do. There's no direction in life, which I can appreciate, but I wish they didn't, you know, talk about it so late in the book. Like, this is literally like a couple pages before the ending, so yeah. I like how he gets outraged when he finds out that Wyland changed his face. I thought that was really funny, very cute, and it would have been cuter if they were actually a couple. I'm just really harping on that shit because I just can't stand it when like people like queerbait. It's just really annoying. Okay? Cause it's like, oh wow, you had it there like for a second, you almost did something. Like, please. I literally saw this review where it's like, oh, Six of Crows displays people with a diverse, like, Six of Crow has a cast of people with diverse sexual orientation. I'm like, where, honey? Where? Like, we don't get anything from our supposedly bi or gay characters. They don't explicitly state they're gay or bi. They don't explicitly state interest for another. And there are hints at it, of course, but there's not much to work with, to be honest. Basically, it's a bit too weak for my taste and it feels very queerbaity to me. Overall, this book was pretty enjoyable. I would not say it's any better than the... Okay, maybe it is better than the average YA, because I did just read this collection, which was terrible. You guys should watch my video on that. Self-promo. It was really terrible, that one. I made a whole 50-minute video about it. If you want to watch it, you should just like prepare yourself for the onslaught of cursing. Anyways, it is better than the average, I do think, but it's just not mind-blowing as all the reviews said it was. So I'm sorry if I'm a little bit cynical on that part. So like, you know, a rating that I would give it, that I think it's fair, would be like a 6 out of 10. Like, it's interesting. I don't know if I'll ever reread it. Like, maybe I will if I want to make an updated video on it, but only for like videos, I guess. However, I did buy the second book in that series, so you can say whatever you will about that. I may just be a shill for these kind of things. Yeah, I always like when I start a series, I just can't put it down. Like, I remember starting like the Apollo series from like the Percy Jackson like spin-off thing. I remember starting like one book being like, oh, I'll just read it to see how bad it is, and then it turned out to be like not good at all. And then I just had to buy all the rest of the books until like the third book. And then I was like, oh, there's no more books to come out. Okay, I guess I'll just wait until next book, and I forgot about it. So thank goodness I'm not wasting any more money on that. But yeah, I have a problem with just like, buying a bunch of books and reading them. So I'm so sorry that my camera died, and this is probably a lot worse quality than my camera, but such is life. C'est la vie. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this video. It was pretty quick because I didn't have that many things to say about it, actually. I think it was pretty decent. It was just a little few character stuff that I didn't like. I thought the plot was fine. I'm not gonna deep dive and analyze the plot and have every little, you know, inaccuracy pointed out, but like whatever, it's fine. That's like the word I describe it. It's fine. Like, why are people making out to seem like it's a fucking masterpiece? I don't get it. So yeah, I would give it like a 6 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. I would recommend you read it. Like, if you are into this stuff, it's like fantasy heist things. If you're into it, read it. That's the end of my video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to me. Thank you, and bye.